Jimbo's Garage.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. Well, the project that I have going on right now is 11 sections of railing that go between stone pilasters. Now, they're not very tall. They're 20 inches tall. They range from 4 feet long to 8 feet long. We got a little decor across the top and some 5/8 squared tube pickets in between. Now, I've already made 9 out of the 11. I got a couple left to do, so let me show you how I built them. Before we get started, I want to thank today's sponsor, which is metalsupermarkets.com. Founded in 1985, they're the largest supplier of small quantity metals. With their buy only what you need policy, it makes it convenient for contractors, hobbyists, and homeowners, and a whole lot of other services as well. They also provide cutting, bending, hole punching, and shearing at most of their 85 locations throughout the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Check them out at metalsupermarkets.com, the convenience store for metals. All right, so what we're using for this project right here is 1 inch by 1.5 inch rectangular tubing, and this is 063, which is about a 1/16 of an inch thick right here. You can see I'm referring to some of the notes that I have right here. You know, out of the 11 of these rails that I made, they're all a different size according to the length and the span between the stone pilasters. You see, I'm just marking. It's going to require 3 per rail. I've got a top and bottom rail plus an additional top rail for the decor that's going to be going on. And you see, I'm not cutting 45s here for any frame. All these cuts are straight because they're ultimately going to have some flat bar stock in the end that's going to have some tabs welded to those, and that's how they're going to be attached to the stone columns. I'm trying to get everything cut right here that I need, including the pickets. Now, these pickets are only about 11 inches long, and I'm just trying to go 3 wide right here. There shouldn't be any problem at all with the evolution. And then once I get all the pieces cut, I'm over to the Burr King, and I like to deburr them. Now, these are really easy to deburr, the small sizes like this. I just roll them in a quick little circle, and I'm telling you, it helps out because when you start sticking these between the two frames, you know, it's nice to have them completely flat on the end. Now, the way I do this, you can see I've got a couple of my table dogs up in the very bottom there, and then I shove those tight up against there, and of course the other end flush to the end of the table, and I know that everything is square. Clamping everything down, and then I'm piecing in the piece of decor. You know these things, I buy them in the 8-foot lengths right here, and you have to cut them to fit. You know, and this one right here, it gets cut in between. It's nice to be able to have it line up on a perfect circle or perfect radius on both sides, but it doesn't happen very often. But nevertheless, that's the way I'm doing it. Operating off the ProPulse 220 MTS here today, running 35 thousandths wire and 9010 gas. And before I get started, I just want to clamp everything down and get my dimensions right. I'm looking for 19¼ inches is what I'm looking for from top to bottom. And I'm just making a couple of little adjustments right there. And the first thing I'm going to do is tack in the decor piece right here. You can see it's just a little tack. I'm bringing it up to the center. I'm not mounting it flush to the back or to the front. I kind of want to get it in the center of the frame there. So with that tacked in, I just want to get a couple more, and we will end up getting a little bit more welds on those a little bit later on. So the next thing I'm doing is spacing out my pickets. Now, the outside, both pickets on the outside need to center in somewhere right at about 4.5 inches because I've got stone that's going to go in between them, and I do need to have them, spaced away from the stone. And then the additional pickets from that point on, I'm starting out at 3.5 inches. You can see a 2x4 there. It's about 3.5, 3 5/8. That one you see I've got it marked 4 inches in the long direction. I use these 2x4s for all kinds of different things. That one just happens to be marked in the long direction. We're not using that direction on this. I've got it the other way for 3.5 inches. I'm going to get about halfway through here, and then I'm going to start spacing out, checking my space. You can see here I'm going to do that right now just to see where I'm going to land. I'm trying to hit my one spot right there, and it looks like I need to open these things up just a little bit as I go along now. Now, that's the way I do it. I know that there's a formula. There's a way of doing it, some math or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm sure if I go online, I can even find a book or something that'll tell me a really easy way to do it. But I don't know, I'm old school, and this is just the way I do it. Seems to work out for me. One thing, too, is very important. When you're doing pickets like this, it's important to have a square, a speed square, whatever kind of square you're using, and check every single one of them as you go along. Trust me, I learned this the hard way. I welded out a whole panel one time, and just by using, setting the first one and then sticking these 2x4s in there and going along, and by the time I got to the end, I was like 2 inches out of plumb. So that's a lesson learned. I'm telling you, check every one. You start off getting off by 1/8 of an inch, you're going to get off really quick. All right, this is a piece of 1.5 inch flat bar stock that this is going to be welded to either end of the frame, and this is going to help tie everything together. Now I'm just tacking it as much as I can right here. I'm going to be flipping this over here in a minute, and I'll be able to get the rest of it. All right, so now it's weld time here, and I'm just grabbing everything I can on this side, and top and bottom and everything, everywhere I can. I'm welding around 2 sides of the pickets right here. I've already got the back side done, and now I've got this tipped up, and I'm doing 2 sides and 1 pass right here. I can't go any more than that. You know what I mean? I've seen some of these guys, or some guys say, hey, you should be able to go all the way around. Well, good for them. It's not for me. I can't seem to do that. So I got the back side. That was the first, and then the 2 sides here. Then I'm going to come back and just hit the last side right here. I like to cover everything all the way around. Be sure there's no spots for water to get in. It's nice to get its nice solid weld all the way around. All right, you might saw me spray a little bit of that Weld Clean on there, 350. That stuff is pretty good. Jason from Fireball Tool did a video a while back on all kinds of different anti-spatters, and that was a very interesting video. Learned a lot about that. This product right here is something that was sent out to me from CRC to give a try, and I got to say I'm very pleased with it. I really like the way it works. I believe that it's available on Amazon. Maybe I'll put a link in the description down there, and you can go check that out. All right, I got that done, and now I'm just going to grind down the end right here. The welds that are, even though they're not going to be seen, this part of the frame is going to be buried in stone. Nevertheless, I still like to get those welds cleaned up. I got a couple little tabs right here that I cut out on the plasma cutter, and this is what I'm welding on. Now there's going to be 2 tabs on both sides of this gate section, or railing section I should say. And the railing sits flush to one side of the column where they're going to be installed. This is why I'm putting both tabs on the back side, and that's where they're going to be mounted. So I am grinding down flush the areas that are going to be fitting to the flat side of the column. The other welds on the inside, I'm not going to do anything with those. You can see I got that one done, and I lined it up with a few of the other ones that I have already completed up there. Just trying to get all of this done before I can take a load, the final load. I've already have some done. Take a final load over to the powder coaters. Now I got lucky with this one right here. This is a section of the decor that happened to fit right in perfect. Curly Q on both ends. There's no cut in here. That was pretty cool. I like that. I wish all the panels worked out that way, but they didn't. Just repeating the process right here. I'm coming 4.5 inches in, like I said, either side. I'm getting my 19 1/4 on both sides, and I'm using the pickets as spacers right at the moment. So it's basically the same process here, bringing everything up, tacking everything in, and once you do a couple of these things, like I said, I had 11 of these to do. The first 2 were kind of slow, and then the last few here, you get in some sort of a rhythm, and they work out pretty good, and you move along a little bit quicker. Just when you get it all figured out, it's all over with, and you got to go on to the next project. But I don't know. This is a good little project. Another thing I like about this too, you can see how small it is. It works really well for me. This is the kind of stuff. The older I get, this is the kind of stuff that I like. It's manageable on my welding table. It's nothing really big and crazy like I've been doing here lately, and It makes it fun to work and easier for me to work too. Here I'm doing the same thing. I'm working my way across here, and I got to be careful that I don't get out of hand at the end of this thing. You want everything to space. You want everything to fit correctly. You're going to have to make some adjustments, whether you tighten up the pickets or you open them up, however you got to do in order to make it fit and look right. By taking pickets like this and starting out at a certain dimension, whether it be 3.5 or 4 or whatever it is you're doing, and by the time you get to the end, you definitely want to leave yourself a little bit of room. Maybe 3/4 away or half the way through. Just start double checking your dimensions. You can always open it or close it, and you're never going to really see. You can open or close a 1/4 inch or sometimes even more, and you really, when it's all done, you stand the picket up, you really can't tell the difference of the gap there. It's very subtle. All right, I hit my mark there, and everything is looking pretty good. And then here is the flat bar stock on the end. I know everyone always asks me what wire feed speed, what are my settings at. You may have saw when I turn on the ProPulse 220 MTS there, it landed on, I think it was 204. The camera didn't show me actually adjusting that down, so I believe I've got that down to usually around 180 inches a minute, which works the best for me on something like this. Your machine may differ, I don't know, but for me and this wall thickness and what I'm doing, it seems to work pretty good. And there's a little flexibility there. I mean, if I'm between 180 and 200, it's seems to work just fine. 90-10 is the gas I use, 90% argon, 10% CO2, and that is just a little bit cleaner, burns a little bit cleaner than 75-25 from what I've found. And, when you're doing a lot of stuff like this, you don't really want a lot of spatter, and anything you can do to reduce spatter it helps out. In case, this is the 90-10 helps a little bit. Good wire, and then some sort of form of anti-spatter really helps in the overall cleaning things up. I'm down in the end right here and going around just catching the last part of the welding here on this thing. This is frame number 11, so this will be my last one right here. See the rhythm? You just get in a rhythm, and once you get in a rhythm, it's just consistent, and you just keep going. All right, these tabs, you see these tabs again. These are those tabs I created on the plasma table, and then these little mag squares. You guys heard me talk about mag squares. I've got a lot of different ones. These are my smaller ones, and for stuff like this, holding tabs in place works out really good. Those also, I got those on Amazon as well. Just a little trick, man, for a fabricator, that you just have to have those things in your shop. It really helps things move along. These particular ones, I believe, are strong hand. These are like mini tab squares. All right, again, you can see me welding the back. That's going to stay right there because it's going to be buried with some stone. The front is going to get on, and I'm going to grind it flat because it needs to sit flat up against the surface for mounting. And just some little finishing touches along the way right here, wiping things down and getting all the deburring and getting the last of it all ground down. This is a great little project, fun little project for me. 11 pieces, nice and manageable on my welding table, manageable for me. And I just wanted to share a couple of those with you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to check out my website at JIMBO'Sgarage.com if you haven't already. I've got my torch lead holders over there, and soon to come some table dogs and some t-shirts and hats. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.